Friday. This is when I randomly do these Ask Ron videos. Topic that came up, some DMs recently with people was they're curious as to how long as a bodybuilder you continue making gains, like how many years or up until what age. And of course, there's no simple answer that's going to apply to everybody, but I'll put it this way. If you're doing everything right, you're training hard, you're recovering well, getting enough sleep, you're eating a lot of really good food, and you're natural, you'll probably keep making gains, most of your gains, for about 10, 15 years. Most of those gains are going to happen in the beginning, obviously. Most of you who've been training for a while know that newbie gains, you make the best gains in the very beginning when it's a shock to your system. Your body's not used to this stimulus of the weight training, breaking down the muscle fibers. If you're doing everything right, okay, then you're going to get to a certain point after, it could be sooner, it could be 5 years for some people, but at some point, years down the line, any gains you make are going to be just tiny, incremental. So maybe you'll keep making tiny, tiny gains for another few years after that, but after that, you're really just maintaining. So at that point, if someone introduces things like steroids, insulin, growth hormone, then you can gain more. You take your gains to another level. And after a few years of that, you're done. That's it. You've reached your ultimate potential for size. Not everybody has the genetic potential to be huge. There's this crazy misconception a lot of people subscribe to. They believe that if you train long enough, hard enough, eat enough, and take enough drugs, anybody can get to be the size of a big Rami, a Derek Lunsford, a Nick Walker, a Samson Dauda, an Andrew Jack, anybody. No, it's not true. It's just not true, guys. Many of you, most of you could take all the drugs in the world, eat all the food in the world, train perfectly for years. You're never going to approach the size of those guys because they are genetic freaks. They are genetic anomalies, just like, most of us were average. We're average as far as ability to build muscle mass, build strength, things like that. You can go a long way from where you started, but think about it in height. Average male height in the US is like 5'9" now, okay? So that means most men in the United States, most men are between 5'8" and 5'10". I don't know the percentage, but let's say that's like 50%, 60% of men are in that height range from 5'8" to 5'10" or 5'11", something like that. Then you're going to have a smaller amount of people who are shorter than that, men, and you're going to have another smaller amount of people that are taller than that. And the taller you go and the shorter you go, the less and less people that's going to encompass. Very, very similar thing with genetics. I'll get to to your questions in a second, your comments, but generally speaking, you're going to hit a point no matter who you are, no matter how long you've been training, no matter how many drugs you've been doing, there's a set point where you're just not going to get any bigger. And I know there's someone out there is going to say, I'm 120 years old and I've been training for 115 years and I'm still making gains, and you're full of shit. You're full of shit. Why do you guys lie like that? True, if you start training much later in life, you still have that window where you can make all those gains because you've never made any gains before. Or let's say you never did everything right. You screwed around for a while and you got to like 30, 40% of your full potential. Then you got back into it and you started taking it more seriously. You'll get beyond that point and so on. But there is a point after a certain amount of years, it's going to be different for everybody. If you've been doing everything right, you're going to reach your full potential. It can be anywhere from 5 to 15 years. It's a huge range, and it's so many factors go into it. But what do you guys got to say? Now's when we go to the phones and you bring up all this random crap, usually about trend. Nanny Resulbego, I'm 37. I think I reached my limit. Can't gain not even a gram of muscle. By the way, I'm natty. Well, yeah, so if you're 37, and I'm assuming, Nanny, you started training as a teenager like most of us did, you probably are maxed out. You're maxed out. If you went on drugs now, and I'm not saying you should or encouraging you to, you would make more gains beyond that. And you'd keep gaining on the drugs for a while. I don't know how long, a year, 2, 3 years, a few years, probably somewhere between 1 and 3 years, something like that, 4 years, I don't know. But eventually you'd hit that point where you've made all the gains even with drugs, and it's going to be a lot bigger than you are now, but You're not going to get bigger than that at some point. We don't grow forever. Like even genetic freak, look at Big Ramy, one of the biggest human beings ever walked this earth. Ramy's not much bigger than he was 10 years ago. 10 years ago when he made his pro debut and won the New York Pro. He's really not that much bigger. He's been training very hard. He's been eating a lot of good food. And let's assume he's been taking a lot of good PEDs for 10 years. What has he got to show for it in terms of additional muscle mass? I mean, not much, because he's at his limit. He's at the point where that's as big as he's going to get. It's huge, but he's not going to get any bigger than that. Where'd that go? AMRAP motivation, which AMRAP is as many reps as possible. Yeah, that's right. I know that because of CrossFit. My wife did CrossFit. Hi, I hope you had a great day. It should be training. It should be a training day, smashing it close to those goals. Yep, I trained. Squilly McFadden, got surgery for my left index finger. That would be this one. I'm really hope I can lift again after a few months of recovery. Oh, I mean, your fingers, that'll heal and you'll be fine. It's, you know, your grip might be an issue for a little while, but, you know, on push day, you're really just pushing from the heel of your hand anyway. You don't really need a strong grip, especially with machines. But even with dumbbells and barbells, you don't need a super strong grip on it as long as you have it really firmly cupped into your hand. And on back day, you know, obviously we have straps to reinforce your grip. I mean, I've known people that were training with broken fingers, relying on all kinds of straps and gadgets to keep them locked in. Squilly McFadden says, I've plateaued as a natty, can't grow anymore, but I can get leaner, LOL. Another thing that I've pointed out to people is that you will hit a limit in terms of as big as you're going to get. Like, to be honest, I'm on gear and everything. I haven't gotten bigger. I haven't made any gains in actual lean muscle mass. If I'm being totally honest with you guys, 20 years probably. I've been training for a total of 40 years now. But I don't think I've actually put any new muscle mass on because I trained naturally from 1983. Doesn't, you know, that was just screwing around as a kid, bench presses, curls. But let's say full bodybuilder type training from 88 to 90, end of 96 naturally, did all that naturally. I think I came very close to as big as I was going to get naturally. Maybe I could have got a little bigger. Then went on gear. I think most of the gains I made on gear were made in those first 2-3 years on gear, even though I took some time off. So I started gear at the end of 96. 97, I made great gains those first few months on gear. 97. 98, I took all of 98 off of gear. I thought I was going to go back to being natural up until about September of 99. So I took close to 2 years off gear, went back on, made some more new gains on the gear, I think, at that point. And then after that, I don't think I made really any significant improvements or increases in actual mass, but did continue seeing more muscle maturity, muscle quality, detail, striations, splits, just a lot more detail. It's that what they call it, the old man muscle, the muscle maturity look. So even when you're maxed out in terms of size, you can always improve on that. I mean, I look at, you know, I get really lean every summer. I'm not as lean now as I probably could be, but that's beside the point. I see that I've made improvements in, you know, I see details, striations, things that weren't there like even 10 years ago when I competed last, and I'm not competing again. But yeah, let's see. Squilly McFadden again and plateau. Oh, I'm sorry. M12 Orlando Pros next week, right? Any new big names entering besides Hassan? I'm looking for the list. The list will come out Monday. I'm really curious to see who's going into Orlando because we have so many shows in Europe this year and not that many shows in the U.S. at all comparatively. So Hassan, I mean, I'd love to see Hassan pick up a win and get his ticket to Olympia. I don't think he got screwed in Toronto. I think Ian was the rightful winner there. Hassan really needs to keep that midsection under control, keep it sucked in. It's not small, but you can create the illusion of a much smaller midsection by always keeping it sucked up. Never let it relax. I mean, he's got a thick torso. He's massive everywhere. It would be even more impressive if the midsection, the middle part of that physique was smaller and tighter. It would just make everything look so much more dramatic. Squilly McFadden, thank you for the response. Love the channel. Thank you for watching. So, yeah. So typically when you hear people say that I'm still making gains and they've been doing it for many, many years, that tells you either they took time away and weren't making any gains they could be making that time, or they started very late in life. Like a lot of times when these guys, you know, because people love to argue and say they're the exceptions to the rule. So I'll have guys who are like in their 40s and 50s saying, I'm still making gains. So then I come back with, how long you been training? And they'll say, oh, like 5 years. I'm like, 5 years? Well, yeah, you're still really in that intermediate stage. Of course, you should still be making gains. If you tell me you've been training for 20, 30 years and you're still making gains, then I'm interested. I'm like, wow. And especially the rare case if someone's actually been doing everything right. They've been training hard, properly, good mind-muscle connection, plenty of sleep, plenty of good food, gear, all that. They've been doing that for years and years, and they're still making gains. That's almost unheard of, because otherwise we'd have people walking around like ripped at 1,000 pounds. We don't, right? I don't see anybody competing at 1,000 pounds. But if you kept putting on, say, 10 pounds of muscle a year, so let's say, here's a hypothetical. Let's say you start training at 20. From 20 to 21, you put on 20 pounds. So now you're, okay, so you've added 20 pounds of weight. So let's say that's your 21. Every year after that, let's say you have great response and you keep putting on 10 pounds a year. So by 41, you should be, oh man, now I got to do math. 21, you'd be 210, 220 pounds heavier. Yeah, so it's just that the human body doesn't work that way. It would be great if it did. We'd all be as big as we wanted to be, but we have genetic set points, genetic limits. Like I always say to some people, some of you out there, you're never going to be as big as me. Some of you are going to be much, much bigger than me. It's just the way it is. My genetics, I don't think they're anything special. Maybe a little bit above average. They're not that much above average. Maybe for a couple body parts, I was gifted with like great pec genetics, great quad genetics, but overall, not the best genetics. Some of you have much better genetics than me. Some of you have worse genetics than me. Genetics are always the dictating factor. And people get so mad because you can't change your genetics. So I don't care how much you believe in yourself and all this. Your genetics are what they are. You can maximize them. And I don't think most people are consistent and do things the right way long enough to really ever get to their full potential. I don't think most people ever get there. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of time, years and years, to hit your 100% full potential. This is as big, as good as you're ever going to be. I don't think most people ever get there, so they never really know. M12, Hassan should learn from Nick Walker how to control his midsection. I agree. That's one thing I think Hassan, it would really benefit him to control that midsection. He would look so much better. Our stuff, it seems you know what to expect on each cycle. I agree that fine tuning keeps the passion. Yeah. Jimmy L, do you recall any pro make a big jump after being in the league for quite a while? I mean, some that come to mind, this just came to mind. Brandon Curry. So Brandon, at the end of 2016, he went over to Kuwait. Okay. Brandon had been stuck competing around, I think like 225, where people were even suggesting he should drop down to 212 class. So Brandon goes to Kuwait. He's over there for months and months. Next time we see him is on stage. I think it was the Arnold Australia, where did he beat Dallas? I can't even remember. It was one of Dallas's last shows. But Brandon had put on over 20 pounds of muscle in a space of like 4 months. And reading between the lines in an interview later, which wasn't with me, it was somebody else, he said, I couldn't afford to do what I was doing over in Kuwait, meaning he was at a certain point because he couldn't afford probably like the growth, the IGF-1. He had kids and he didn't make a ton of money. He couldn't afford the PEDs, the amounts and the exotic types that he was getting for free over in Kuwait. He made it was like 24 pounds. He totally transformed. And then as we know, 2019, he became Mr. Olympia. So that was one. Who else made really big gains as a pro? I mean, Ronnie did. Ronnie's an exception, obviously. But so you want to know, was he pro for a few years? So Ronnie turned pro in 1991, the end of 91. He competed in 92, 93, 94. Nothing special. He was either natural or on very, very tiny amount of stuff. I believe he was natural. I know you guys are going to say, you idiot, you moron. How can you be so stupid, Ron, to believe him? But anyway, then he talked to Flex Wheeler, and Flex Wheeler either told him all about gear or told him the amounts and types that were being used. I don't know what's the case was. That's when Ronnie just blew the F up started winning shows. A couple years later, he's Mr. Olympia. And this was a guy that nobody was worried about Ronnie for a year. For a few years there, trust me. He was just one of those guys on the sideline. He'd be like a second call-out guy. It was good. It was nothing special, nothing, that was a hell of an era. But, yeah, Ronnie did that. DLB and Kamal keep making gains. No, DLB does not keep making gains. She's been 135 pounds for 12 years or something. She's not making any more gains. Kamal, I don't know if Kamal's making gains or if he was sort of holding himself back to be in the 212 division and not letting his body grow. But I don't think Kamal is going to be 240 pounds on stage or anything. He's like 220 when he did the open shows last year. He looked really, really good at Tampa and Texas. But yeah, he is actually, okay, so he's one of the exceptions because I do think he probably is making some gains. But, for a guy that's been training that long and been doing everything right, training, food, PEDs, that is an anomaly. That's an exception. My hat's off to him because he's not spring chicken. He's like 52. 20 pound in 1 year natty. Do you think that's possible? First year of training for someone with above average genetics? Absolutely. I've seen it so many times. I think the average person, natural, starts training. I think, especially a young guy with all your hormones, when you're a young guy, you're in your, say, the 18 to 24 age range, tons of testosterone flowing through your body, growth hormone, all that good stuff. Your joints are nice and healthy. Maybe you don't have a lot of stress in your life yet. You don't have a lot of responsibilities. You have time to eat and sleep that maybe you're not going to have when you're got a tough job and you got kids and all that stuff to worry about. I think 10 to 15 pounds is probably average for a young guy to put on his first year of training naturally. And people with better genetics are going to put on more than that. Yeah. Our stuff, the Olympia ticket site is still down. No, I don't know anything. People come to me like I'm not trying to be an a-hole, but they come to me like I'm Olympia customer service. I have nothing to do with the Olympia contest. Nothing. Kind of wish I did. Not a bad outfit to be associated with. But I have no idea what's up with the Olympia. You'll have to contact them. Dave Thomas, I think you have to accept that there is a point with bodybuilding that you start to go downhill slightly. I stopped using gear when I stopped competing, but I enjoy training more than ever fun. Yeah, I mean, I'm fully realize that my body it's started to go downhill. It's not as good as it used to be. My legs, which were by far my strongest point, what everyone always complimented me on, asked me about how I trained them, they're not what they used to be. I can't really squat anymore. I can still do leg presses and other things, but I can't. My lower back, my knees, my body it's not safe for me to squat anymore. Squatting was a really integral part of how I built my legs and how I kept them big for years and years. So my legs are coming down. They're probably about 20% down from what they were, 25%, something like that, 30%, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I still weigh with no clothes on, I'm like 220 pounds right now. I'm not like shredded, but I'm not fat. You guys need to follow me on Instagram so you can see all my selfies every day. Ron Harris Muscle. Evan 12, do you think Brandon can still win another Olympia title if he brings next level conditioning? I think he will need more size, especially his legs. I don't know if he's ever going to win the Olympia again. I mean, it's just a natural progression that you have new talent coming in that sort of pushes the older talent slowly out of the picture. Not that Brandon's old, but we have... So look, we got Krizo coming up. We got Andrew Jack coming up. We got Samson coming up. We got young Derek Lunsford. You still have Hadi Chupan. Who else was in the... Because I'm always forgetting guys at top Olympia. Hadi, Derek, Nick. You got Nick Walker, my goodness. Rami, I think he's not done yet. We got Hunter coming back to the Olympia, of course. I mean, Brandon's still very, very good. I mean, he was fourth place last year, but I don't know if he's ever going to win the title back. But I'm not going to say he can't. I'm not going to say he won't, because I've seen people make these crazy comebacks. Like when Cutler came back in 2009 and won his title back after losing to Dexter the year before, we all thought Jay was done. Jay's never going to win the Olympia again. And he won it in 2009, and then he won two more after that. And then Phil began his reign. Raymond Jones, if it weren't for the weight cap, the men's physique guys would continue making gains forever. Not forever. Nobody keeps making gains forever. I don't know why you would think just the men's physique guys. No, nobody keeps gaining forever. There's a certain point where you're just not going to make any more gains. And yeah, and I don't care who you are. Like I use Big Ramy as an example. Big Ramy hasn't really made any gains in 10 years. 10 years of hard training, tons of food, presumably a good amount of PEDs, and he still hasn't put any more muscle on. Maybe a little bit. But he's as big as he's going to get. Not that he needs to be bigger, but No, it's just the human body doesn't work that way. At some point, you stop growing, you stop gaining. Your body's like, that's it. That's the end point. Jimmy L, I was thinking about this the other day, a fantasy matchup, Krizo versus Evan. Yeah, we're never going to see Evan again. Evan's officially retired. Good dude, though. I love Evan. Sam, what's better, work out with an empty stomach or after breakfast? After breakfast. Why would you work out on an empty stomach? Why? There was some, studies years ago showed that, well, you have a little more growth hormone released when you train on an empty stomach, but that one little thing is negated by 20 other negative factors of not training with food in your system. I have a really good breakfast. I only train on one meal. I train after breakfast. So every day it's two whole eggs, a half cup of egg whites, 1 cup of oats, the dry oats that I soak overnight with blueberries. And what else do I have in there? There's vegetables in the eggs, but don't worry about that. You don't need it. A cup of coffee and probably another 15. I have the collagen protein in there. That's 10 grams of protein. And then I pour some Muscle Tech Nitrotech in there. So it's like another 15 grams. So it's a big breakfast. About 90 minutes after that, I'm warming up at the gym and I have great workouts. But I would not advocate weight training on an empty stomach. I know you still have glycogen in your system from the night before if you ate carbs and stuff, but man, you're still on an empty tank. You're starving. I mean, I hate times when I've had to train when, sometimes it just happens that you can't be on the schedule you'd like to. I'm very privileged, very fortunate that I do get to eat the same times every day and train the same time every day, almost all the time, with rare exceptions. Once in a great while, I go to the gym later than I wanted to or something, and I'm late for a meal and I'm hungry during the workout. The hunger just kills me. It's like it's hard to focus on the workout when I'm feeling like my stomach's like gurgling. It wants food. Let's see. Raymond Jones, beating Hottie is nothing new to Brandon. I wouldn't count him out. No, I'm not counting Brandon out. I don't count anybody out. No, I don't do that because I've seen so many examples where people who have been written off, who are supposedly all done, all washed up, make these comebacks and look fantastic. And Brandon could do it. He's got a fantastic physique. Yeah, his legs could be bigger, but they're not small by any means. He's just got such round, full shoulders, back, chest, arms. It's the upper body. When you have an upper body like that, you need the legs to match, and his don't quite match. They're a little bit behind. But yeah, he's beat Hottie in the past. None of these guys are unbeatable. I mean, eventually Father Time gets the best of everybody. Ronnie was unbeatable until his body started breaking down. Jay's body started breaking down. Phil Heath's midsection started breaking, the hernia. Eventually, even the guys that we think were perfect and unbeatable, eventually everybody either gets beat or they retire before they get beat. It's cool when some people anticipate that or leave while they're still on top, which is rare. Like Lee Haney, he retired at 31 years old with 8 Olympia titles in the best shape of his life, where people are like, wow, this is Lee. This is the best you've ever looked. You could probably win another couple, but he was like, no, I'm good. 8 Olympia titles, peace out. And that was the end. That was the end of Lee. Dorian got out. He knew his body was breaking down. He was tearing muscles. His body was just not going to hold up any longer. He didn't want to lose his title on stage. I think he knew it was going to be very, very tough for him to continue with the title, try because there were so many good guys back then, and there was new talent coming up. Sam says, yeah, I read somewhere about empty stomach workout gets you burn more calories. Tried it for a few days, but I literally got blackout during midway training and stopped that BS. Yeah, even cardio, there's like real no evidence that cardio on an empty stomach burns more fat or more calories, in the big picture than having a meal and going and do your cardio. I'm guilty. I've told people for years and years, you got to do your morning cardio, fasted, this and that. And you're starving and you're so tired and hungry. It's misery. So the last couple preps I did 10 years ago, I didn't do any of that. I did all my cardio after my weight training. I would just have some branched chain aminos or something. We didn't have essential aminos yet. And have my shake after, my protein shake, whey protein shake after the cardio. Go home and eat a full meal. And I got just as leaner, my best condition ever. I didn't do one session of fasted cardio for that prep, not one. So, I mean, Lane Norton, great channel. Bio Lane has done a lot of videos about it. Brilliant guy, young, to me he's young. Does a great job of debunking a lot of these fitness myths that, a lot of the bro science myths that even I've been very guilty of propagating for years. But yeah, empty stomach workouts. I remember the first time I even tried that was 1990. My girlfriend at the time, who's been my wife now for almost 32 years, she bought me the Cybergenics kit. Cybergenics kit was, it was all these different bottles and pills, and you're supposed to take this one at this time of day. They made it look like, they presented it like it was this crazy underground steroid cycle you were buying. So we get all excited, like, oh boy, now I'm gonna get huge. The best thing about Cybergenics was it came with a workout, a video. It came with a video, but it came with a book with a workout to follow. The workout was really good. It was a lot of high intensity techniques and stuff, but they told you to train on an empty stomach. And I did that. And I tried it. And I was like, oh my God, this sucks. So I went and tried the workout again after having a couple meals in me. I was like, oh wow, way better. Now I'm getting pumps. I'm feeling good. And I was making some gains. You know, it was 1990. I was 20 years old. I would hope I was still making some gains. Sean Edwards, Ron, I know this is way off topic, but do you have any info on why Olympia tickets are delayed? Yeah, guys, I have nothing to do with the Olympia. Nothing. Zero. I can't help you. I have nothing to do with the Olympia tickets. But thank you. Appreciate you watching. Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you guys can contact the Olympia people. I mean, they're on Instagram. They're on, I don't think you can get them through YouTube, but you can, I think there's a contact on their website. MrOlympia.com, MrOlympia.com. Mr. Olympia LLC is their official Instagram. So yeah, I would hit them up to see what's going on, see what's up with their tickets. Let's see. Well, you know, guys, it's time to walk Branch the Bubba's on Instagram. My adorable pit bull. He's been chasing rabbits in the morning. Prediction for Texas Pro. I need to see a list. So we know that Hunter is doing it. Hunter has gone on record saying he's doing Texas, he's doing Tampa as well. Boogeyman, Blessing is doing both shows too. I messaged Andrew Jacked last week about it. He's like, oh, I don't know what show I'm doing yet. So either he's leaving it up to his coach, which is Chris Aceto. So either Andrew doesn't really know what show he's doing or he doesn't want to. But it's weird because I didn't say this. I'm not going to like be a dick and say, wow, on your Instagram back in like, it was like April or something, you posted a flyer for the Texas Pro and you basically said I'm doing the Texas Pro. So he might have changed his mind since then. But Andrew versus Hunter, if it's Andrew versus Hunter, that's a great matchup. Throw Blessing in there too, man. But Andrew versus Hunter, Hunter's made some great improvements. I think Andrew's been working hard too. Bring up the back, bring up the hamstrings. Like I said, Andrew last year was just dominant. When he walked out there, it was over. Show was over. The minute we saw Andrew and the rest of the guys, all right, who's going to be second? Who's going to be third? Because Andrew's got this like in the bag. It wasn't even close. We had never seen anything like that before. He just had a very unique look. Let's see. Nanny Wrestlebego, did you back in 90 ephedrine before fast cardio? I could still find that ephedrine high-tech farm makes it. Yeah, I used to do the ECA stacks back in the 90s. I used to use them for pre-workouts for energy because we didn't have, in the 90s, there were no pre-workout formulas. That didn't exist yet. Nobody thought to come out with a pre-workout. We would just drink coffee. I drank coffee. Instant coffee. My teeth would get like brown because I put so much freaking instant coffee in the cup. But I used to use the ECA stack really just for energy. I wasn't really doing a lot of fasted cardio. Was I? Yeah, I guess I was. But yeah, people did that. Yeah. Jimmy, any new good horror movie recommendations? Oh, I actually did just see one. What was it? Shit. I wish I'd written it down. I did see something pretty good recently. Well, I saw Evil Dead Rise in the theater a few weeks back with my brother. Evil Dead Rising. Evil Dead Rising. That was pretty damn good. I like that. Pope's Exorcist. It was, it was ridiculous. It was like way over the top with the special effects anyway. It was pretty decent too. Hunter made great improvement with his back and midsection. It'll be a great battle. I give Hunter a lot of credit because I thought it was photoshopped, that waist, and then I'm seeing he's posing his video. It's not photoshopped. He really improved his back width, overall mass is better than it was last time we saw him. And his midsection to me looks smaller. So I think he was able to keep the midsection the same size and get everything bigger. So Hunter looks really good. But I'm also curious to see Andrew jacked, because he does post some full body shots, but he really shines the most when he's in shape. When he's super lean, that's when you're like, geez, very impressive. What are your top natural ingredients for fat loss? I mean, ephedra, I guess, would be natural. Caffeine is natural. What's some other crap? Cayenne pepper. I mean, I don't know. I use like fat burn stuff from right now. I'm using the Burn IQ from Muscle Tech. I'm not even sure what's in that. I don't have the bottle in front of me, but fat burners, they help like 10% beyond what you're going to experience from just eating clean and doing cardio. If you're not really eating clean and you're not in a caloric deficit, the fat burners aren't going to do much for you. If you're doing everything right and you use a fat burner, I'm just talking about over the counter right now, then you'll see a difference. Obviously with drugs like clenbuterol, thyroid medications, yeah, and the dreaded DNP, which, ooh, I hate that DNP. Never used it, but I just hate the idea of it. Then you're going to see dramatic fat loss because these are prescription drugs, or I don't know, I haven't heard about anybody who's effing around with that Ozempic shit yet that all the celebrities have been using. Yeah. Anyway. All right, guys. Well, that was my little one for today. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Appreciate all you guys who tuned in for this. Fridays is usually when I do these, just, it's kind of random, but typically on a Friday. So if you have questions for the next one, leave them below. I'll copy and paste them, and I'll lead with those the next time. And, give you credit if you want your name said. Tell me. And if you don't want your name said in the question, don't. Make sure you tell me that too. So yeah, that's it. Drop some comments below, guys. We love the feedback. It's good for the algorithm too. Yeah. So that's it, man. Thank you all for watching. Have an awesome weekend. Hope you're enjoying your summer. Stay cool. Stay safe. Keep making those gains, guys and girls. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.